Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-minute history videos. And today I'm on East Chase Street in the Mount Vernon neighborhood, and behind me is Horizon House Apartments. And if you're following along real time, you know we're quickly headed into the end of the year, and that means New Year's Eve. And this New Year's Eve, if you were super lucky, you have gotten an invitation to join somebody here for dinner. If the year were 1965, you would have been super lucky if you had gotten an invitation to join somebody here for dinner. Now, if you're looking at the nondescript apartment building behind me and me standing here in my tuxedo and thinking things don't really add up, well, yes, in fact they do, because the restaurant behind me is the sleek and classy and Art Deco Prime Rib, which has really set the standard for fine dining here in Baltimore since it opened in 1965. That's what we're going to talk about, but let's first say a word about steakhouses. How did they arise? Well, they got their start in London in the 1690s. They were called chop houses because the individual portion of meat that you were served on your plate was called a chop. That distinguished them from the older inns and taverns, where I guess they had a big slab of meat on a table and you went and carved off your own portion. From the very beginning, they were all men, and they were really pretty stodgy from the very beginning. When the French started fancifying foods in the 1800s and serving it in breezy bistros, the chop houses of London would have none of that. They stuck to their tradition of dark wood interiors and simply prepared cuts of meat. Here in America, we got our steakhouses beginning in the mid-1800s, really starting in New York City. The oldest in the country is a place called the Old Homestead Steakhouse. It got started in 1868, maybe not surprisingly, in New York's meatpacking district, and it's still going strong today. Other classics, Peter Luger Steakhouse got started in New York again in 1887. And then the Palm, another New York classic, is quote-unquote only 98 years old. It got started in 1926. Steakhouses, of course, are not limited to New York. Chicago has its classic Gene and Giorgetti's, began in 1941. It's a Tuscan steakhouse, so in addition to getting classic steaks, you can get antipasta and ravioli. And then Ruth Chris Steakhouse got started in New Orleans in 1927 and now has about 100 locations nationwide, including one here in downtown Baltimore. But since 1965, the prime rib behind me has really set the fine dining standard for steakhouses. If you haven't been, I'll set the scene. You walk into a dark bar where there are waiters dressed in tuxedos and bartenders elegantly mixing up martinis. The decor is Art Deco black and white. There are frame prints on the walls. The carpet is a leopard print, and there is a baby grand piano with a piano player quietly playing classic jazz songs or 1950s classics. It was started by a lawyer turned restaurateur named Constantine Peter Beeler. Everybody called him Buzz. When the Horizon House was being built in the 1960s, he saw an opportunity for a career change, and with his brother Nicholas started a restaurant here in the brand new building. In his own words, he wanted his restaurant to look sleek like the restaurants in the movies that he watched as a kid at the old Aurora Movie House on North Avenue. For inspiration, he went up to a place in New York called Hampshire House with its fantastic Art Deco interior. It was the scene for the 1963 movie Come Blow Your Horn. He came back here to Baltimore and with designer James Peterson turned that vision into a reality. Over the years, he would open prime ribs in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, the Maryland Live Casino, but the flagship prime rib here is still the definition of classic steakhouse. It's the place where Muhammad Ali would come and eat when he was in town, even apparently played the piano. Didn't know he could play the piano. Where Arnold Schwarzenegger would come to eat, and where they waived the jacket requirement for him. Apparently the house jackets they provide when you forget yours wouldn't fit over Arnold's biceps. And it's a place where Liberace would routinely eat whenever he was anywhere near Baltimore. Buzz would keep the restaurant open until 3 or 4 in the morning so he could come after his shows. And it is a place where waiters routinely work 30 or 40 or more years, where they know your name when you walk in, they know your spouse's name, and they know your birthdays as well. Now, we can't do a video on the prime rib, even a history video, without talking about the food. And if you look back over the years at articles from food critics, they universally universally heap praise on the quality of the food here, the quality of the waitstaff, the ambiance. There is nary a bad review in its 60 years. A lot of the reviewers, I was surprised, commented, of course, on the signature dish, the prime rib, but a lot also commented on the quality of the seafood. So a universal restaurant for sure. But all of the reviewers, almost universally, also have to say a word or two about the signature appetizer called Greenberg potato skins, which has its own story. Teddy Greenberg was a wholesale children's clothing manufacturer and apparently a man about town who never ate at home. He had a friend, Shirley Rice, who was taking cooking classes at the Walters that had really an unbelievable superstar lineup of guest chefs that included Jacques Pepin, Julia Child, and James Beard. Apparently at one of the classes, James Beard prepared a dish where you baked a potato, then scraped out the insides and discarded the skin, and then sort of jokingly said, well, you can even eat the skin if you put butter on it and put it in the oven. And Miss Rice did that at home, and at one point inviting Teddy Greenberg over, who fell in love with this simple but magical dish, went to the prime rib and got them to put it on their menu. And today, Greenberg potato skins are simply prepared, baked, and then fried potato skins served with a side of sour cream. Somehow that combination is magical. All right, I'm going to wrap up by saying whether it's New Year's Eve or not, it is worth saving up a little bit and treating yourself to a dinner here. When you walk through the doors behind me, you will walk straight into a scene from one of Buzz's 1930s or 40s movies at the Aurora. You will be treating yourself to the best food around and really a full immersion experience walking into still classic Baltimore. All right, have a happy New Year, and we will see you in January.